Okay, I just thought I'd do a quick follow-up video on the little Super Cub, jump-starting it when it's dead. Mixed results here. It does start. I just tried it a minute ago, but we have a little problem. You can get it started, but the computer doesn't like it. It doesn't run. So I have push-started this thing in the past when the battery was low, but I've never tried to run it while the battery was flatted out. And it doesn't work too well. The computer really throws a fit. So let's see if we can get it to engage again. There we go. It says green. All right. So this gives power to unlock the system and spin the fuel pump and fire it up. But as soon as I disconnect the charger here, hope all this is showing up on camera, the computer throws a hissy fit and resets. So I don't think it's safe to ride it like that or operate it like that. Even if you run the RPM up, the dead battery, see, now it won't even light the computer. And then at idle, it starts doing this again. So apparently the dead battery is sapping enough out of the system that it doesn't run. So this does not work well on the Cub. What I'm going to do is go ahead and pull the battery completely out of there, and I'll just replace it with something else and see how it goes. So this is what I'm going to try to put in there. I think it'll fit. I'm not sure about the width of it. I'll get the other battery out and measure it, but these work in the PCX 150s and several other, smaller Honda bikes. This is the Western Power Sports WPS Firepower Featherweight. I've used these in a lot of my bikes, and they work really well. And the neat thing is this battery test that comes right off the top of it there, so it tells you what the relative state of charge is on there. So we'll see how this works. The important thing is the positive terminal on the right, because that's what the battery in the Super Cub has right now. So I'll get back to you after I tear that thing apart. Okay, well, I'm back. I didn't film the taking out of the battery because there's a lot of cussing and swearing and screaming and skinning up of knuckles involved. The little battery cover is such a pain in the butt. I think it could have been designed better, but I'll leave that alone for now. So, yeah, here we are. The YTZ5S is what comes in the Super Cub. I believe it's what also comes in the Trail Cub. I've not verified that, but very likely that they're the same piece. It's a 12-volt, 3.5 amp hour, 10-hour rating, etc., etc. So not a huge battery by any stretch of the imagination. So when she goes bad, time to go. Out. Bye. Gone. Bye-bye. And the firepower, HJTZ7S. So it's a 7 amp hour comparable rating. It's identical in all dimensions. Width, height. The weight difference is staggering. This is probably about 4 pounds, 5.5 pounds, something like that. It's about 5 pounds. This is maybe 2 pounds, if that. It feels like it's empty. But terminals are on the right sides. Everything's good to go. This one is dead, no test button. This one is full with a test button. Time to put it back in. I don't know how well this is going to show up on camera, but when you get these small Power Sports batteries, or any battery for that matter, particularly these lithium ones, the terminal blocks in them are rather thin. They're not nearly as beefy as the ones, the lead acid ones on your traditional batteries. This big lead terminal, you've usually got some type of a brass or brass coated terminal here. Anyway, the problem that I always have, and you can see my hack in here on this one. See if I can get the screen to turn on. Yeah, there we go. You can probably see that I've got little chunks of zip ties stacked up behind it. Electrical tape works a little better, but I was in a hurry that day, and I just needed a spacer, because the problem is these little captive nuts in there fall out terribly all the time. Put that in there, and if you lean the battery, guess what? That just fell out, and it went down in your body plastic somewhere. And you're screaming and cussing trying to figure out where it went, because you don't have any spares, right? Brand new battery, why would you have spares? So, I'll show you a little trick that I've used for a long time. You guys have probably figured this out, but I'll throw it in here anyway, just in case it's useful to somebody. All you need to do is take a little swatch of electrical tape, probably about an inch. Doesn't need to be much, about like that's plenty good. And snip that off. And then what we're going to do is just roll this up in thirds back against itself, sticky side out, so you end up with this. Okay, cut that in half so you're twice as frugal. And now what you have is a little swatch of tape. Just stick that to the back of each nut. Yep, there we go. Get on there. Stay. Sticking to me instead of the nut. And then what you can do is shove these things into the little captive sockets, and they won't go anywhere. Because when you're trying to maneuver these batteries and get them in and out of the bike, you're going to be shifting it and tossing it all around, and those nuts are going to fall out of there. And in the case of the Super Cub, the clearance on the side is so close that you can't get in there after the fact to shove that little captive nut back in there. So the screws are going in this way, so make sure you put the tape toward the back, shove it in the bore there, and it's done. It's not going anywhere. What I usually do is I'll stick a screwdriver in there and mash it down to where it really gets a good bite against the back, and it's not going anywhere. So press that back. She's good. Press it back. Done. So now I can shake it around and they don't come out. Hey, hack. Okay, so to be completely thorough, I should go ahead and test this, eh? Let's test the theory, whether you can jumpstart the Cub with no battery in it and then remove power and see how it behaves. So that will tell me if it was the dead battery that was draining power from the system, or if the alternator, generator, magneto, whatever you want to call it in this bike, is not strong enough to continue powering everything after you remove your auxiliary power source. So let's find out. I've seen other people do tests on the Trail Cub, and you can run it without a battery. Ride with Waro did that on his a while back, and he had a pretty thorough test plan that I watched. Worked out okay. So we're going to turn it on here. It's not showing anything here, so we're going to find out. No, I don't have any voltage, so this smart jumper isn't even able to turn on because it doesn't see a circuit that it can use, or, you know, a little bootstrap voltage, basically. So let's try one more time here. Nope, can't do that. So I would have to actually hook up a battery that works, jump it, and then disconnect it. Let's try that. I'll do that with the new battery. Let's see what it does. Okay, I've got it just kind of sitting precariously in here, and that's not the position it normally is. It's normally laid back and the terminals are on the front. I've got one on the front, one kind of on the top, just for this test. So fresh battery, system comes right up. I didn't like the look of that. The gauge went all the way over here to the right and bounced off of the right side several times. It didn't look very happy. Hopefully that was just an artifact of being dead earlier. So starts up just fine. And what I can try to do now is unhook the positive. Well, I don't want to undo the positive just in case it grounds out. Let's undo the negative and see how the system works. Now, of course, this test is moot because if you didn't have a battery, you wouldn't be able to restart the system at all. It would be game over. In fact, I think I'm just going to leave the test there. I don't even want to try it because I don't want to risk damaging my ECU or anything else that's going on. I didn't like that gauge bounce. Normally it goes all the way over to the right and then smoothly resets, but it went dong, 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 and then bounced back. That didn't look very nice. Let's try it again. Okay. That was smooth. It was a full cycle. Okay, I'm going to call that good enough. I don't want to cook the ECU in my little Cub. So I still have to unhook it again to shoehorn this thing back in there, man. Let me tell you, that is, I can't explain how annoying the battery compartment is on this thing. And my my Neil rack here that holds my Neil tank, I love this thing. It's fantastic. And he did such a good job designing this that even this crossbar right here is not in the way for getting the battery cover out. It's tight, but it comes right out. And I can change the battery, I can get to my fuses, I can get to everything I need in there. But even if this wasn't here, that battery cover on here, this little guy, is such a ginormous pain in the butt because you got all these wires that route through it right here for the negative side, and the test leads and, you know, the diagnostic port and all that come up through here and then clip into this. They're in the way. The positive lead comes over across and through this. and then this whole thing is nailed down. So the problem is you can't get to the screw very easily for your positive terminal because it's covered by this plastic. So you have to undo these two, you have to kind of shift and shimmy and maneuver and pry just to get to the positive to where you can get it undone. Otherwise you can't get the cover to move forward or out to get the rest of it out. It's ginormous pain in the ass. Oh, yeah, and then the fuse block right here is tucked into this, and you can't lift up because of the cords on that are too short. Honda could have done a much better design with this. They could have put that fuse block somewhere else and not attached it to this. Yeah, giant pain in the ass. So anybody that has ever run your Cub battery flat, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Anyway, I want to button this back up and go ride it out to get some lunch. Thing hasn't been on the road in forever. All right, here we go. All buttoned up. No plastics broken. Everything is back in place successfully. No broken tabs. A lot of complaining and cussing at the arrangement that Honda did for how to get into that battery compartment and the little battery over tray. But otherwise, she's running good. And 14,592 on the clicker, which, you know, plus 6% because of my oversized front sprocket. Got the clock set, full of gas, ready to run.